Maseches Bava Kama, Daf Pei Gimel Amud Beis. We are starting a new Perek in Yirtzeh Hashem, a new Perek. We said already all the credentials. Okay, this Perek deals with a person injury, with injuries. Okay, we're dealing with injuries. What happens if a person injures his friend? Does it make a difference whether he did it b'mezid or b'shogeg? Even if he did it b'shogeg, he still has to pay nezek. If a person injures his friend, he has to pay 5 different payments to the injured party. They're all written in the Torah. Most of them are written in Parshas Mishpatim. HaChovel b'chavero, Be'ezras Hashem. HaChovel b'chavero, one who hits his friend and injures his friend. Chayev olav mishum chamisha dvorim. He has to pay 5 different things, 5 different types of payments. The nezek, the tsar, the ripui, the sheves uboishes. I'm not translating it again because everything will be explained and translated in Mishnah, and everything will be explained thoroughly in Mirz Hashem in the Gemara. The nezek is just the value of the person. Nezek means the actual value. Nezek means damage. This whole seder is called nezikin. Nezek is a damage. And nezek means that you have to pay for the loss of value of this person. Ketzad, how is that? Simes eino, lo aleinu, a person blinded someone's eye. Kota es yodoi. Kota es yodoi. I'm sorry to stop myself. Okay. The nezek ketzad. How would that happen? Simes einoi. A person blinded his friend's eye. Kota es yodoi. He cut off his hand. Shiber es ragloi. He broke his leg. What do? How do you evaluate the person's value? Roin oisoi. You look at the person. You evaluate him. Ki'ilu hu eved nimkar bashuk. You say, let's say this person would have wanted to be sold as an eved ivri in the market. Yeah. Let's say if he'd have to sell himself as an eved ivri, how much would he be worth? The shomin, you have to now evaluate, assess kama yofe, the kama hu yofe. How much was he worth before and after? Let me give an example. Let's say you want to hire an eved ivri, not hire, want to buy an eved ivri. Eved ivri actually pay for the worth of the person, even though it's only for 6 years with potential for yovel. Maisa, you pay for the person itself. You don't pay him a daily salary. You don't pay him per month, per day, per week, per anything, which existed in the times of the Gemara. The word poilim, poil is paid per day, and a kablan is paid per project. And eved is a person, it's quite rare nowadays, except for, I think, football players. Yeah, they actually buy the person and his worth so and so. So, or maybe other sports player, I don't know. So the eved, how much would you pay for an eved with a hand? How much for an eved without the hand? Obviously, an eved with the hand would be worth much more than eved without the hand, obviously, right? And that is the difference. You pay eved with a hand, I would pay 2 million shekels. Eved without a hand can still do other things. Depends whether it's his good hand, his weak hand. Maisa, yeah, I could still use him, but less, only 500,000, only 1 million I would pay, not 2 million. So now the person who cut off the person's hand has to pay 1 million. Let's say this eved is a big artist, and I could use him to, I don't know, teach my children art and do beautiful artwork all day long while there's a corona lockdown, yeah, and then whatever. So he's worth more than a regular eved that can just do the spanja. So the hand of the artist is worth more than the hand of the regular eved. And therefore, here again, we have a case of evaluating his ability to work by seeing how much he would be as an eved. Okay, or in today's world, that would be how much would a hospital hire? How much should you pay for, a surgeon? Somebody can do a lot with his hands. Next, so that's nezek. And of course, each and every one of the 5 items will be dealt with very thoroughly in the Gemara. Now, the next one, tsar. What's tsar? Tsar is pain. Pain, you have to pay for the pain that you caused. Pay for the pain. How do you evaluate that? Kvoi b'shipud or b'shefud or b'masmer. Let's say one person burnt, singed, burnt his victim's hand, the shibud, or bemasmel, shifud, which is the spit, yeah, what is skewer, spit, yeah, skewer, yeah, or bemasmel, or with a nail, hot nail, yeah, burning nail, hot, even if he did it on his nail, let's say he burnt his nail, so now the nail can regrow. So it's not actually an ongoing thing. It didn't create a chabura, didn't actually hurt him, didn't create a real bruise or real wound. It was just painful. It was very painful without leaving any marks. The chiddush is, even though the person can say, listen, I just caused him pain, which was terrible, but it's not a long-lasting effect. It was no long-lasting effect. Still, you have to pay him the tzal. Tzal is a separate payment, regardless whether the damage was permanent or not. So now, the tziponoi, oindin, how do you assess that? Kama odem kayoytze bazeh roitze litol lios mitztar kach. You have to assess this person's level of sensitivity. Rashi says meunag, person is very finicky. Some people are they don't care so much about pain. They don't mind having some pain. They've been to their army's toughest unit, and some people are like very finicky and scaredy cats. So you have to see this kind of person. We assess how resilient is this person, and how much would he take money in order to get that amount of pain. Yeah. So in the Havamina, the Gemara thinks it means, like children play dare me. That was, if you give me 100 shekels, it can cause me this pain. The Gemara rejects it. That I remember from years ago. The Gemara rejects that shot and gives you a different shot. The Gemara says, how much would a person pay if he already has to have his hand cut off? Let's say you visit Saudi Arabia and the Yetzer Hara got the better of you and you stole an apple in Saudi Arabia. What do? Cut off your hand. They learn the Torah kipshuta. Yad tachas yad. Yeah, what? So then what? Ouch. How much would you pay for whoever does it, for the hand cutter, to give you anesthetics? With or without anesthetics? The hand has to be cut off anyways, in the middle of the town square. But then the question is, how much would you pay to have the anesthesia? Would you pay 3 million? Would you pay $500,000? How much would you pay? So that amount of money, generally speaking, is the amount of money that the person who caused you pain has to pay you. Again, no questions, please, for the simple reason that everything will be discussed in the Gemara, unless you have a very specific technical question. Next payment, ripui. Ripui is what? Medical expenses. Ripui, yeah, it says he should heal him. He hit him, he injured him. Now he's mechuyav to heal him. And again, there are many details about the medical expenses. For example, the Mishnah says, Oluboy smochim, let's say he has some kind of like fungi or extra side effects from the makkah. You know what I'm saying? In other words, like an infection. Yeah, he hit him, he slashed his his arm. So just the blood coming out and he bandaged it, but then there was infection. So the infection, I'm not saying alocha l'maisa, but there's a byproduct, a sideline from what happened, another effect from the original makkah. So now, if you can prove the infection or that smochim, that growth, whatever that is, the fungi, is because of the injury chayav, then you have to pay not only for the original injury, also from the other effect, the other chain reaction that happened after that. If the doctor can prove that infection, that whatever happened, not as a result of the makkah, and sometimes, as we know, doctors are taken to the courtroom, right? Many times doctors are taken to give testimony. Was it a result of that, yes or no? What's your medical opinion? So here we are. If we see that it's not because of the makkah, that infection fungi, that extra, chain reaction effect did not happen actually because of that, then the person is potter from the side effect. He only has to pay for the original wound. Chaisa v'nistera. Let's say that very same wound, chai, it healed and again deteriorated. Healed and deteriorated. As long as there's no full recovery, Baruch Hashem is out of hospital, but then again deterioration, and the doctor didn't yet say that he has a clean bill of health. He's not completely recovered. You still have to heal him again and again. Another operation, as long as it's up and down, but still a result of the very first Seimaka, I guess in the eyes of the doctors, you still have to pay him for however many treatments he needs. However, if the wound is already fully recovered, and the doctor said, oh, that's it, enough time, he's been to good checkups, and the doctor said, gee, wunderbar, everything is great, and then again it happened, it's already not related, you don't have to heal him again, because now we already have a clear cutoff point, and we say that's it, the original Makkah is not affecting him anymore, it's a new thing, even though it's the same old one, but it's already past the clear, all clear sign, then you can say it's a new thing, and the one who hit him is not mechuyev, doesn't have to pay. Which, by the way, I know my daughter, she had the machla, and the doctors told us 5 years, after 5 years, she's considered clean, Baruch Hashem. I said, if Khalila it happens afterwards, they said, that's a new thing. Even if Khalila it's the same one, after 5 years, the doctor, Chiloni, he said, after 5 years, if Chas v'sholem, the same disease happens again, we consider it as a whole new story. We don't connect it b'chlal. So here we are, they're mechav into the Mishnah. There's a certain point where the disease is already gone, and even if it reoccurs, it's not reoccurring, it's a new occurrence. And that's, generally speaking, what the Mishnah is talking about. Sheves, last but not least, Sheves, yes. Yeah, go ahead. Last but not least, work. Arbeit. Sheves. What's Sheves? That's the last payment. Sheves is like Shvita. Anybody who's been living here knows about Shvita. What's Sheves? Loss of work. How do you pay for his loss of work? You view that person who's been paid already for the nezek as if he's a person who guards cucumbers. Shomer Kishuin in the echelon of the Mishnah is always considered like the lowest paid job. I don't know what it is today, but Shomer Kishuin, the one who guards the cucumbers, that guy, what? That's minimum wage. Yeah, that's all he does. You don't have to have a PhD in anything for that, not even a bagrut. It's okay. You can manage Be'er Shomer Kishuin. I guess mothers in the time of the Mishnah told their children, what's going to come out of you? Shomer Kishuim. You don't go to school in time. So then, yeah. So now, if let's say he had to be in hospital for 3 weeks, yeah, besides everything else, the tsar and the ripui, and you have to pay the doctor, or you have to pay whoever, the private. Now you have to pay for losing 3 weeks of work. Now that guy, you know what he was? Ooh, he's a pilot. Makes a lot of money being a pilot. He lost 1 month of work, I don't know, 70,000 shekels. Yeah, but now he cannot be a pilot anymore. From the second of the injury, when he cut off his hand, and I assume he can't be a pilot or blinded his eye, then you don't pay him for the 70,000 that he lost as a pilot. You pay him as if he's a shomer kishuin. Why? Of course, says the Mishnah. You already gave him the money of the hand and the feet. Get it? In other words, when, let's say, Rosh Chodesh, Nisan, that terrible accident happened, not accident, and you took the pilot, you're very upset with the pilot when flying the plane not so nicely, and cut off his, not even funny, cut off his hand. So now, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, for that moment, you owe him, I don't know, 5 million shekels. That's what, I don't know, maybe they would pay for pilot. I don't know, Magid. You pay him 5 million, goodbye. I paid you 5 million, I wrote a check 5 million. Now, Mimela, the difference between a pilot and a shomer kishuin, which will be your next job, I paid for that already. So now that when you're in hospital lying in pain with the missing arm, the potential job that you would have done now is not a pilot, it's a shomer kishuin. Yeah? The next phone call you make is, hello, my name is so-and-so, ex-pilot and budding shomer kishuin. Do you have a job for me in your kishuin patch? Right? Yeah? That's the business. So Mimela, now I have to pay you not 3 million, but I have to pay for 3 weeks shomer kishuim, which is 25 shekels an hour. That's all I have to pay you. Get it? Because we balanced it the other way. Okay? Mimela, we say that to pay for the difference between a pilot to Shomer Kishuim, I pay that. That's Nezek. That falls under Nezek. The 5 clear categories here, Nezek. Nezek is Nezek. Now you have a different, I didn't go to work. Which work can you do now? You can be a Shomer Kishuim. I'll pay you for Shomer Kishuim of 3 weeks. How much is that? I don't know, 500 shekels, not million. Give me 1 second. I made a mistake. I'm sorry and I apologize. Please forgive me. It was not the last one, Sheves. No. Sheves was not last. It was second to last. The last one is Boishes. Boishes, embarrassment. How do you evaluate the person's embarrassment? He was smacked in the middle of the street. Not even lifelong permanent injury. Not even injury at all. There was a case, let's say a lady, they took off her head cover. It's also boishes. Anything physical. If you called somebody pig in the middle of the street, you don't have to pay. But if you did something physical that puts him to shame, let's say you dressed him in a funny way without him realizing, you did something that puts him to shame, to embarrassment in public, you have to pay. How do you evaluate that? Depends on who is the one who's the mevayesh. How important in the eyes of society is the person who caused the embarrassment, and how important, where's the social standing of the misbayish, or the one who was embarrassed. That is the seesaw we have to play, and the Gemara talks about it later. Some people would say, what? Some people would say, who would you be more hurt? If a very choshev person embarrassed you in public, or if some pauper, some homeless guy embarrasses you? Depends. Well, look at Rashi, and or middle of the road guy. Says Rashi, Rashi says if the person is below you, the person is definitely considered to be somebody below you in the social echelon, ladder. In the ladder, he's standing in the lower echelon, and he put me to shame. Who is he to tell me? Who is he to put me to shame? A chutzpah, a guy who's greater than me. That's like the Ger Hasidim said, or the Rav Avadia people. If he gives you a smack, it's a big compliment. Got a smack from the Rav. Wow. Maybe today he wouldn't already. Today they'd go to the police. But if he smacked him like that, she means he's giving me musar. I'm not saying to do that. A person hit me, not hit me in a terrible way, embarrassed me. I deserve it. But this low life, who is me to tell me what to do? I'm a da-da-da-da. So although it's arguable, and the Gemara talks about it, and the misbayish, the more choshuv the misbayish, the more you have to pay. You put into shame somebody so choshuv. If you shame somebody who himself not so doesn't care about his kavod mela, but if you embarrass somebody who's choshuv, you have to pay more. Although that's debatable, it's a question. Ellen has been very patient, and for that you'll get a prize. Yeah. Before we continue, and that will be not this sugya that we see today, will be the next sugya. Whether or not these things apply today, Tafshin Pei Beis 22. Do we say that today if somebody smacked his friend, and unfortunately somebody told me that a lady smacked him, she slapped his face near the shul. In the street, a woman. So then, can he take her to Beis Din for boishes? So actually the original case of the Torah of boishes is the woman who holds, you know what, excuse me, even worse. So that's boishes. So then, no, that's the case of the Torah. So do we pass in this today? It's a big debate. It's a big question. Lamaisa, today we don't din a knossos, and this is like a knas, even though it's not mamish knas, and there is no. It's not common. Doesn't happen very commonly. It's not very common, so that's why we don't have these dinim today in Beis Din. But we'll discuss it more. If you already have the money, let's say somebody lent you money, you owe him money, and then he slapped you in the face, and then he cut your your ear off, then you can maintain the money and say Beis Din doesn't have the koach to take it, to give it to me, but if I already have it, I keep it. I'm not a posek halacha, but these are discussions about it, which actually you see it later. That you're going to see Meretz Hashem with Rav Berman. Another very important announcement. Says the Gemara. I'll be away for 2 weeks. Says the Gemara. Amai. The first question is why? We keep talking here about money, and we make fun of the Saudi Arabians. Well, the Saudi Arabians have a good source. It says in the Torah, Ein tachas ein, Omar Rachmone. When the Torah talks about injury, it mentions 4 different organs. It says Ein tachas ein, Shen tachas shen, translation needed, Yad tachas yad, Regel tachas regel. It says eye for an eye, hand for a hand. The guy cut off someone's hand. Don't be such a bleeding heart liberal. The Torah says cut off his hand, cut off his hand. And why don't we say that? The Mishnah says pay, money, kesef, and geld. Why don't you do as the Torah says? Ema, ein, mamish, maybe a real eye. I want to tell you something nice. You want to hear something nice? Ellen, you want to hear something nice? Rosh Tevas, ein, shen, yod, veregel. I said it in Moksha Masot afterwards in one of the Meforshim, is Rosh Tevas, ashir, rich. A person who has a healthy eye, healthy teeth, healthy hands, and healthy feet is rich. Ashir. Ein, shen, yad, regel. These are the 4 organs that the Torah mentions. If you have that, you have rich men. Don't go for the gold. You have good health. That's good enough. So l'choyer, why don't we say it's real eye? And says Gemara, lo sal kedaitach. No, this should not enter your mind. The Tanya, it says in the Brisa, Yochol simes einoi, sames einoi. Would you say that if someone blinded someone's eye, you actually physically, as as a retaliation, would you actually take and blind the criminal's eye? Yes. Would you say that? Kotes yodoi, mekates yodoi. He cut someone's hand. Are you actually going to cut off his hand? Being, taking revenge. Shiber esragel mishaber esrageloi. Is that so? Kipshutoi. Talmud loimal. Here we come to the psukim which we're going to read. I'm going first to read the first pasuk. Make odom, make behema. The Torah somewhere, we don't know where, somewhere out there, the Torah compares and juxtaposes make odom and make behema. The Torah talks about a person who injures a man and a person who injures an animal and lumps them together. So I know that today we love animals more than people, but the Torah is more old-fashioned, and the Torah says ma make behema letashlumin. Just like it's obvious that if you, let's say, you injured Bessie the cow, then we're not going to cut off your hand. It says, Makabeima yeshalmeno, you have to pay. By an animal, of course, you pay money, and nobody's going to cut off your hand. So too, if you hit a person, you injured a person, so too tashlumin. That is the first source. We compare man to animal. We're going to see the pasuk soon, but later. Yeah. Makeh behema and makeh odom are compared. They're together. Bari. Just like if I hit an animal, nobody would imagine that nobody's going to cut my hand. It says yishalmena, pay. Leshalem, tashlum. So too, if I hit a person, I only have to pay. Continues the brisa. But if you still have any kind of claim against this source, what is the claim? We'll see later, but you have to remember those words. If you'd have any misgivings regarding this source of comparing man to animal, I have another one up my sleeve. I have another rabbit out of my hat, another pasuk. It says in a different place, don't take koifer. What's koifer? Kilu kapora, money. Koifer means money that atones for what you did. No. Rotzeach. Don't take money as compensation for somebody who murdered Rosh Lomus. Kill him. You have to execute him. Only once in 70 years, You're being very nice to him. But the etzem, the person who killed someone, his chiyuv is to die. Texas style. Yeah, Rosh Lomus. Don't take money from him. What's from him? Lenefesh rotzeach, yet lokech koifer. For the one who mamish murdered, you don't take money as compensation, as opposed to aval atalokech koifer rashevon shen choizrin. Full stop. You do take money for what I call the murderer's little brother, who is the injurer. For that, if somebody cut off someone's head, ein choizrin, cut off his hand, and there's no way back, it's not revocable, irreparable damage. For that, you do take money. You get the rhyme and reason here. In other words, the Torah says if somebody murdered, the Torah repeats twice, murder. Not only the murder, you don't take money for murder. That's not compensation. Yeah. Masha'in can when you mashma between the lines, the one who's similar to murderer but he's not, which is the one damaging and cutting off someone's hand, poking someone's eye, that's close to murder. For him, you do take money. From him, the ein tachas ein means money. That's the second source. So let's revise. The question was, how do you know that we are right and the Muslims are wrong? Is that a good title for this year? Would that get 1 million people to come to my website? In other words, how do you know really that if someone cut off the hand, you pay money? The Torah says, say two sources. Source number one, the Torah somewhere compares and puts together, lumps together man and animal. Just like if I injured an animal, I only pay. So if I hurt my friend, I also pay. Of course, it's not as bad, but it's compared. Now, the other source, if you don't like that source, we have another source. The other source is, the Torah says, don't take compensation money called koifer from someone who killed. The killer? No. What killer? Who are you coming to exclude? The one who's similar to killing, and that is the injurer, the one who damaged, the one who caused wounds and cuts. This person, from him, you do take money. By the way, we've seen Kol Torah Kula. I don't know why some people here had a problem with that. I think it's a very simple story. The Gemara says many places that a miktsas misa, to hit someone, especially if you cut off the hand, it's like ktsas misa. It's like mini death. You killed that aver. Yeah. Why aren't you allowed to cause wound on Shabbos? Wound. Why can't you wound yourself on Shabbos worse than during the week? Let's say you have a really itching mosquito bite and you just to scratch it. Can't do it on Shabbos. Why? Because I'm not going now to Eretz Gufa. I think that's I know it could be. I think it is mamish dorais. I think. Why can't you bleed on Shabbos? Yeah. Oh, you take a tissue afterwards. What's the problem? There are 3 Avos Malachos. 3 Avos Malachos may be over, mister. One of them usually not over because it's coloring, not interested in coloring. The other 2 are dash. You're taking a liquid from its place of origin, it's squeezing. It was in the vein or wherever it was and you took it out. Yeah. And the third one, which is what I want to focus on now, is killing. Just like you can't kill an animal on Shabbos, right? So you killed that part of the body. In other words, the blood coming out, or you cut yourself on Shabbos, you created a cut on Shabbos, that little cut, those very few, whatever cells, whatever in the body are bleeding, you killed that little part. It's going to heal later. Very nice. Right now, it's miktsas misa. So we see all the time that injuring is like the little brother of killing here too. So for killing, you don't take money. For injuring, you do take money as compensation, and you say goodbye, and you don't touch him physically, the aggressor. So far, so good. I highly recommend. We now read a few verses in the book of Leviticus. Yeah. So Vayikra Chavdaled, it's really good if we see the psukim first. We get acquainted with the psukim. We translate them to King James English. And then let's go to Chavdaled, Yud Ain. Perek Chavdaled, Pasuk Yud Zayin, the end of Parshas Emor. The ish kiyake kol nefesh adam ois yumas. Yeah, a person who yake kol nefesh adam. I'll tell you the problem with reading this psukim. The Gemara itself has a problem. Emor. Mi amor. Yeah. Chavdaled Yud Zayin. Okay, it's not our scroll. Okay, now the Torah keeps referring here time and again to a man which is makeh. What does it mean lahakot in Hebrew, in English? To smite, to hit, to strike, to beat. Oh, but it's not so simple if the hakah is a deathly one or to hit. Meaning makeh, makeh means, my son comes from Cheder, said so and so he hit me. My son did worse to the other kid. Don't worry, that's between them. Makot, just hitting. Now, but in the Torah, sometimes makeh means a deathly strike. So we're not sure if this psukim are talking about makeh boom or makeh with a pistol. Yeah, just bear that in mind, and let's just translate the way we understand. The ish kiyake kol nefesh adam mois yumas, a person who makeh the other one should die. I assume that means real what? mamish death. Well, I'm not sure. Umake nefesh behema yishalmenu nefesh tachas nefesh. Hey, here's a behema. Remember, if you hit a behema, or even if you killed it, yishalmenu, you have to pay for it. Nefesh tachas nefesh. That's a different story. What's called nefesh. I'm not going down that lane now, but you pay. If you kill a behema, some animal lovers would like to kill you, but the Torah says no. You have to pay big money. The bull was worth 10,000. You got to pay 10,000, not more. The ish kit and mum ba'misoy. If a person creates a mum, that's definitely hitting. What's a mum? A blemish. He puts a blemish in his friend, meaning he punched him in the nose. Kasher also, Kenny also loy. You have to do to him like you did to his friend. Shever tachas shever, fracture for fracture. Ein tachas ein, shen tachas shen. Kasher it and mum bodum kenny nos and boy. Whichever injury you did to your friend, the mum is like the injury. You have to do the same to you. Okay, so here it looks like we're talking about injuries, but we see a juxtaposition here, right? Make nefesh beima in pasuk yud ches, and pasuk yud tes, which we just read, is a man that hits his friend, and I don't think he killed him. Mum is he created the mum. He's now a bal mum in modern Hebrew means a handicapped person. They don't use it anymore because it's not politically correct. Today everything has to be very politically correct, like Afro-American. But Bal Mum, when I grew up, meant a handicapped person in a wheelchair. So Mum means you hit the person, you damage the person, you have to do the same to you. But it's written right after an animal, which you only pay money. Let's continue. Umake behema yishalmeno, make odom yumas. Oh, another pasuk that compares animal to human beings. Make behema yishalmeno, you hit the behema. I don't know if you killed it or not. There was some kind of haka. Umake odom yumos. And if you hit a person, whatever that means, you gotta die, Khalila. That's it. Okay, very nice. So we just saw the psukim in general. We have some comparison between them. Twice we saw comparisons between hitting an animal and hitting a person, right? We saw Yud Zayin, Yud Ches, Yud Ches, Yud Tes, and then again we saw in Pasuk Chaf Aleph, again, animal and man being lumped together. We saw one hekesh. I keep using the words of supposition. Yeah, we see one hekesh Yud Zayin Yud Ches and another hekesh in Pasuk Chaf Aleph. Okay, now we have this in our arsenal. Let's go and continue. Says the Gemara. Frek the Gemara. The line starts with the word Evorim. Frek the Gemara. Hi Make. Which Make are you talking about? You told me that the Torah compares, the Torah lumps together the hitting a behemoth and hitting a human being. Which one are you referring to? Which pasuk exactly? Ilema, if you want to tell me, make behemoth shalmena, umake odom yumas, which is pasuk chaf aleph. You're welcome to look in the Chumash. Ahu, that's your comparison. Biktol ksiv. That talks about death. What are you talking about? It says make odom yumas. You don't kill a person, even in Saudi Arabia, I think, not that I care about what they do, you don't kill a person for hitting his friend. You kill make odom yumas, make behemoth shalmena. You killed an animal, you have to pay. You killed a person, gotta die. Yeah. Ela mehocho. Must be, we learn from a different pasuk. We learn from pasuk. Let's look at pasuk. Chaf. 1 minute. Yeah. Umake. Ela mehocho. Yeah. You zayin ches. Ela mehocho. I made a mistake here. Make nefesh behemoth. Yeshalmenu nefesh tachas nefesh. They made a mistake. Make nefesh behemoth is supposed to yud ches. I was right. Make nefesh behemoth is supposed to yud zayin. You pay for hitting the behemoth. Nefesh tachas nefesh. The next pasuk, which is pasuk yud tes, right next to it, the ish kit and mumba misoy. Kasher also kon yaseloy. That's a good source. Psukim yud zayin yud ches. Bingo. We found what we wanted. Look, it says what? Make nefesh behema, you smote, you hit the behema, you pay, yeshalmena. The ishkit and mumba misoy, mumba misoy is not death. What's mum? You caused him a blemish. You hit him, you injured him, he's handless, terrible. It's not death. And what did it say about him? You do the same to him, yes, but it's right next to behema. Just like behema, you pay. For a person, you also pay. Very good. Okay. Perek the Gemara, excuse me. In the original Brisa, we looked for the word make odom, and Maka Behema. If you look at Pasuk Yud Tes, it doesn't say the word Maka even once. It says a man that places a man that hits his friend, causing him blemish, injury, but it doesn't say the word Make. And I thought you're looking for like Exer Shav Make, right? Same thing. By Behema it says Maka. When a person, the word Make doesn't exist. So where do you see here the comparison? Answers the Gemara, no, we're not looking for Gzer Shava that is actually word for word. Some Gzer Shavas are not word for word. Hakol Kamrinan. We're looking at the general concept of Hakol, which means the word Yiten Mum is a synonym for Hakol. It's just another way to say the same thing. You can either say to hit, or you say to create a blemish, but it's the same. And we continue, and we say, just like hitting an animal, all that entails, that brings is payment. All very nice, very nice. Is for tashlumin. If a person hits his friend, it's tashlumin also. So by the way, this is a source. With that, we remain, and we're happy. We're happy with the source. If anybody asks you, why don't we really, poke someone's eye out in Beis Din because he did it to his friend? Why? Because the Torah darshans the behema yeshalmeno, ishit itimum ba'misoy. Behema and Adam are compared. Eating a behema and eating a person in that respect are the same. Just like there it's yeshalmeno, by human being also you pay tashlum. That's the source. Now we're going to ask other questions regarding that. It says in the Torah here, the ish kiyake kol nefesh adam. Yeah, it says here the ish. It says in pasuk Yud Zayin, the ish kiyake kol nefesh adam mois yumas in pasuk Yud Zayin. So I thought he talks about death, and that's what Rashi in the Chumash says. Rashi in the Chumash, from some reason, doesn't follow the Gemara. Okay, maybe at other sources, I don't know. But the words "Ish kiyakol kol nefesh adam" pasuk Yud Zayin shall die. Look at how the Gemara explains the pasuk. Frag the Gemara, the "Ish kiyakol kol nefesh adam" mois yumas question mark, which means not that the Gemara thought that a person who injures his friend is going to die. But what did we say? When you cut off your friend's hand, chas v'shalom, or even slash it with a knife, even jar it, that's mini death for that area in the body. Those cells are dead for now. So maybe you should do the same to you and kill you like you killed him. Yeah, you slashed his stomach, let's say, but he's not dead. Okay, slash your stomach, the same level of death. Maybe that's what moist humus means. But moist humus means that something physical. It doesn't mean payment. Why tell me payment? I have another source before your psukim, pasuk Yud Zayin, before your good friends Yud Ches Yud Tes. Pasuk Yud Zayin says what? Kill him, meaning kill the body part that he killed. Take off his hand. Don't be such a thing. Answers the Gemara. One word. No. How do you kill him? You kill him with money. Where did we see that? When your bull hits the other one, do they kill you? They kill you with money. In order to make you pay to your bones. Yeah. I frag the Gemara. How do you know? Why do you say that the death that he deserves is a financial death? Ema b'misa mamish. Maybe it means real death, which does not mean death. Maybe it means cut of his hand. Maybe it means corporal punishment. Maybe corporal punishment, slash of his hand, which is like death and not money. How do you know it's money? Why interpreting the Torah that way? And says the Gemara, no, don't think that way. Chada, first of all, because I told you that there's a hekesh, because there are two ways to learn the pasuk. The pasuk Yud Zayin, it says, the pasuk Yud Zayin, moist yumas, is it physical or financial? I don't know. Read on to pasuk Yud Chet Yud Tes, and you'll see that we compare the one who hit the person to the one who hit the behema, and just that over there it's clearly money only. So through here it's money. Very simple. The oit, and I have another source for that. It says, Siv Basrei, it says afterwards, it says in pasuk Eksiv ki Basrei kashet and mubadom ken inosen boy ishma min mamon. I don't think it's another answer. I think it's the same answer. Here, the oid means that both psukim are together. The pasuk of the behema in pasuk Yud Ches, it tells you a behema, of course you only pay money. And then who's coming up next in pasuk Yud Ches? A man. It says yitin muba miso. Yitin muba miso of a person, only money. Very good. So we remained with a source. We have a good source. Behema yishalmena is payment, money. So too the man that follows suit, the next pasuk is only money. Now, if you remember, the Brisa, such a nice source. Yet, if you remember, the Brisa originally said, if you don't like this answer, I have another card in my deck. I have another rabbit up my sleeve. I have another one, another pasuk. What's the other pasuk? The other pasuk is Bechlali in the end of Bamidbar, Perek Lamedhei. It says, don't take money from the murderer. The murderer should not, go scot-free with money. Mashma, who can go not scot-free? Who can do away just with money? The murderer's little brother, the injurer. Perek the Gemara, the first wide line, what is the other question, that hidden question we could have had on the Torah, on the first drosha? Why would that beautiful drosha that we just said, the comparison between Behema and Adam, why would that not be sufficient? What's that hidden question? If you have other questions, then I have another one. What would be the other question? Answers the Gemara. To Kakashya, there was a difficulty. Latana had the following difficulty. My chozis, it's true that you can compare man to an animal, accept it, but my chozis, why do you prefer? What do you see? As what do you prefer? The Olafs Mimaka Behema. Why do you prefer learning a person who injured his friend to a person? You derive the source from a person who hit the animal. Leilach Mimaka Odom. Why don't you compare him to his big brother, the one who killed a person? You get what I'm saying? In other words, when you injure a person, you have two cousins. The man's injurer has two different ways to go to. There are two cousins, one from the father, one from the mother. What I'm saying. Yet a person who hit a man can be compared to hitting an animal, but it can also be compared to killing a person, right? With all due respect, the person is not an animal. So one could argue and say, listen, why do you prefer to, it's true that it's comparable and I see it as a viable source in the Torah, but why do you prefer it that way? Especially since also it says yiten mum, it says ki yiten mum, whatever. There could be another source also. It's also written right here next to a murderer. So it's written near a behema, near a murderer, and it's similar to both. You hit the person and cut off his hand. I can say it's comparable to cutting off the animal's hand, or it's comparable to killing a person. Here it's money. Here it's real, physical, corporal. Why do you prefer this one? Yes?
What is that? Trying to compare it to hand. Wouldn't you have the principle of
no. That would be just his punishment. No kimulam d'Rabbanan. There's just one. No. You won't kill him. No. I forgot to mention again. No. The comparison would work like that. Just like if you chas v'shalom killed the person, they would kill you. If you killed his nose, will kill your nose. Nobody would say that you have to die for injuring a person. I said that before. The potential killing of a person who's a mazik who cut off someone's hand is to kill his hand and not money. There was never on the cards, never on the table to kill a person who injured his friend. That was not a question. Read the second wide line. No, that would not be a question. Why? Doni nezikin min nezikin makes sense to me to compare nezek from nezek. To damage a person, I would compare to damaging Lucy the cow. Then doni nizokin misa, and you don't compare nezek to death because nizikin and misa are two separate areas in halach altogether. That's killing and that's not, with all due respect. Perek the Gemara, Adarabah, no. I would say the other way around. Donin odom odom, then donin odom behema. I would say afuch. I prefer comparing cutting a person's hand to killing a person than cutting a person's hand to cutting off the dog's hand. Yeah, and donin odom behema. That's the dog. The Gemara, very good. Very good. Good. Usually, when the Gemara is in trouble, it's not good. Here, when the Gemara is in trouble, it's good. We're looking for trouble. We're looking to know what was the problem of the Brisa. Remember, you get the dynamics over here? We're looking to find what was that. If you have a question, I'll find you another source. What is the question? That's the question. We would have had the potential question, why do you compare a man to an animal when you compare man to man? And therefore, in that case, you should definitely pay what? Not pay with your body. Corporal punishment. Now we have a second pasuk up our sleeve, the pasuk that tells you what? That only a murderer is not forgiven with money, blood money, it's called, right? That's the Germans, big, I've heard before I was born, right? There was big turmoil whether to take the money from the Germans, the compensation, big stories. I did witness it. So then, Lemaisa, yeah, do you do that? Yeah, no. But the person who damages his friend, he can pay money and not get, and he won't have to be punished physically. Now we're going to delve into here. Now let's focus on that, on this limud. Line starts with the word asher. Rosh Holomus. Don't take blood money from somebody that is Rosha, the wicked man that has to die. Kimois yumas, because he has to die. Lenefesh rotzeach, the murderer. If it's a real murderer, first class, he killed someone, you don't take koifer. Mashma, we derive from here. You do take koifer. You take koifer for damaging someone's body parts that will never, it's not reparable. Perek the Gemara, wait a second. Why do you, now the Gemara is questioning this. Why are you telling me when the Torah says, don't take money from the murderer, that comes to exclude the one who injured, to tell me from the injurer, you do take money. How do you know? Haimi Baile, you need it just for the information of the actual pasuk. Don't do two things. Yeah? In other words, you're telling me your whole story. You're telling me what? You're telling me the murderer, don't take koifer from him. Don't take koifer from him. But who will you take koifer from? Who do you take money? From the damager, the one who cut someone's toe, who cut his nose. Okay. Says the Gemara, wait a second. Our esteemed colleague by the name of Rabbi Tzvi Rosen, what did you say? Maybe the pasuk is telling me, don't take money from who? From the one who murders, meaning, not that we thought blood money would be okay. The mafioso who killed someone or sent someone to kill can write a big, a fat paycheck, which they can, and get rid of it. That was not the thought. The Havamina was, maybe he should do what? He should be killed and pay money. Lo tish lo tavid beitauti, says the Torah. Don't do both. Lo tish kol minei momoin vetiktele. Don't take money from him and also kill him, which is a concept of our good old friend from Korea, Kimle, Kim of the Rabbaminei. Yeah, so we need the pasuk for Kimle. We don't have the pasuk available and free to teach me what you want to teach me, which is the idea of that the injurer may pay money. And says the Gemara, Mapitom. And says the Gemara, no, there's a different source for that. Kimle has a different source, not from us. Hi. That Michderish Osoy Nafka. No, that we learn from a different pasuk, Bechlal, when we talk about lashing the person. It says Michderish Osoy. Risho Achasat Mechayvoy, Yetemchav Rishois. It says when you have to lash a person in Beis Din, Rish Osoy. You do it for one accusation. One accusation only, not two accusations. And that's the source of Kimle. So you think Kimle is learned from it? No. Kimle will learn from Rishosoy, one Risha, not two Rishoyas. If you gave him Malchus, he doesn't have to pay money for the shirt that he tore on the way. That's a different story. Our pasuk remains loyal to us. What's our pasuk? Our pasuk is Rotzeach should not have money given, as opposed to the injurer, which should have it. Okay, one more line. Do you mind? Just to get to the Perek the Gemara, we still need the pasuk for something else. Why are you telling me that it's telling me that the pasuk is telling me, don't take money from him, but do take money from the other. How do you know? Maybe all the Torah tells me is Lotishkel Mammon v'tiftrei. That terrible murderer, don't take money from him, v'tiftrei, get him off the hook. But he doesn't say anything about the one who injured. Why are you medayek and learning between the lines? All the pasuk told you is don't take money from the one who killed. What's going to be about the one who injured? The one who injured, why is he b'chlal in the story here? Who says he's referred to? And it says Gemara, no, and that's the final answer. The pasuk should have been shorter. The pasuk should have omitted the word lenefesh rotzeach lamali. Why do you have to say twice rosh halomus and rotzeach? He's saying the same thing twice. Don't take money from the murderer. From the murderer, you don't take. You're saying from the murderer. Again, I'm telling you, from the murderer, you don't take. That sounds in the background as if we're coming to exclude someone else. Shmami, no, that is to say, the nefesh rotzech yet lokech koifer, aval lokech koifer lo shavar mishenen choizrin. Very good. You don't take nefesh rotzech, but you do take from the other one who actually killed the organs of the other men. Perek Digmar, one more, because I want to my chavrus to start from the next one. We are 3 lines from the 2 dots. Perek Digmar, v'chim achad echtiv lo tikchu koifer, make lamali. If we had such a good source, we have 2 sources. The second card you pulled out of your sleeve is so good. Why do you need the first one? If you have a source from the rotzeach, don't take money from the murderer, but do take money from who? From the injurer. Then why do you need the comparison to the animal anymore? Right? We don't need that anymore. I know it already from the rotzeach. Rotzeach doesn't pay money, and mazik, injurer, does pay money. Good. So why do you need the first comparison to an animal? Answers the Gemara, a genius answer of all of them. Amri, they say, Imahai, if you only learn it from the murderer, no, injurer, yes, Avamina would have said, Ibai, if they want Einun Esiv, Biboid me Einun Esiv. I would have said that's alternative, that's optional. A murderer cannot get away with murder practically and pay money, he has to be executed. But maybe one who's mazik, he can do either. It's on the menu. He can either poke out his eye or take out the worth of the money. It doesn't say not to take out the eye. The murderer cannot pay. Mashma, the injurer, can pay, but maybe also take out his eye. Maybe the man is very poor. He cut someone's pinky. He would say, I would cut my pinky or pay $1 million. The guy's a very chosh of a pinky, $1 million. Cut my pinky. And I'm not going to pay you $1 million. Maybe it's an option. Kamash Malan, it's not optional. How do you know it's not optional? From the first pasuk of Behema. Kamash Malan mi Behema. Mama ke Behema l'teshlumin if ma'kodem l'teshlumin. Just like by Behema, it's non-optional. There's no way if you eat an animal, no normal diet ever would make you cut off your hand, even if you cut the monkey's hand, right? Which is terrible. Don't cut off your hand though. It's not an optional. So for the pasuk about the murderer, we have a good source. The murderer, money is not an option. By you, money is an option. Comes the Makebema says money is not just an option, it's the only option. And that we only know for the pasuk of Beim and Adam. Shkoyach, I'll miss you very much, my good friends. Thank you very much. Have a good Shabbos.